up guys, my name is Chris and I'm the owner of this 1986 Toyota pickup or Toyota Hilux depending on where you're at in the world. I started this build around 2007, just been building, upgrading everything over the years. I get a lot of requests for people to go more in depth on the build, so I thought I'd do that today and kind of just go over the whole truck with you guys. For my wheels and tires, I'm running a KMC 17-inch B-Lock. It's their Enduro B-Lock, I believe. The tires are Toyo Open Country MTs. They're 37 by 17s. It's a great tire. I love these tires. All right, so up front, I just have Body Designs, 3 LP9s. I'm running 2 XLs up underneath. They're kind of like my cornering lights, stock headlights, just because it makes it look nicer and more nostalgic, I guess. Originally, this had a different paint job and I just actually had like the short course style headlight stickers, and it was funny because people used to always ask me, they're like, are those real? And then when you get up close you realize they're just a sticker, so it was pretty funny. But this is a McNeil one-piece front end. I put this front end on with the front end kit, so it was all kind of a package deal. When the truck got redone from the original home built kit, it had, you know, a full engine cage from the firewall forward, new bumper, new front end kit, new shocks, all of that. This truck is roughly 86 outside of tire, I believe, width wise. All right, so the front end of this truck is custom. I believe there's only 2 of these kits ever made. I bought it from ESB Mike. He actually built quite a few Toyota kits over the years. It's very similar to like a Total Chaos kit, but this kit cycle really good. And the steering was custom made by me a long time ago. Like I think it was 08, 09 is when this front end went on, and it's pretty much had no issues since. It's the original front cage and bumper and everything. So for steering, this is just a 4-wheel drive Toyota box that I mounted, power steering box, like a early 90s Prerunner pickup. And then that is a Hal Ram Assist that I added to the custom center link that I made. And then I actually ported and plumbed the stock box to take a ram. That made a huge difference. You don't get all the feedback in your steering. So it runs a 2.5-inch by 12-inch coilover, a 3.0 4-tube bypass shock to assist it, and then a 2.0 bump stop. Everything's a chromoly. It runs a Dana 44 hub, like a TTB, like Ford hub. The front end, it pulls around 15 inches of travel, and it's pretty clean. It has less than like, I think, a 1/4 inch of bump steer. You don't need a lot of travel. A lot of people have similar kits nowadays where they're, you know, trying to get 18, 19, 20 out of these, but a lot of times I just see the steering is pretty whack on it. My theory is that if you have a good cycling kit and you have a really good shock valving, you're gonna be miles ahead of somebody with more travel with poor shock valving. That does make a big difference. Always do shock valving. I had a single spare, and I've actually been doing a lot of work trying to get the suspension to settle down. So I actually have changed this. This is a trunk setup. And so now I have a dual spare, and I'm building out a trunk under here. You can see I have a floor jack and the handle, and I'm gonna put a bunch of storage and a cooler and stuff all back here. I'm gonna enclose this all. The rear end is a 3.5-inch Camberg fully fabricated housing with the Camberg 2.25 hubs, I believe. It has 40 spline axles, which are, to put in perspective, they're 1.75 inch diameter, solid 300M. The center section is a Ford 9-inch based. Everything is aftermarket. It has pro gears, a spool, a billet yoke, solid spacer. Everything is aftermarket and upgraded. Even the case for the gears is an upgraded, thicker case. With the abuse of the big tires and horsepower, you need to upgrade the rear end and everything to handle that kind of power and not break. General rule of thumb, if you're like drag racing and somebody says it's good for 2,000 horsepower, it's probably good for around maybe 500 or 600 horsepower in the dirt. Fully fabricated housing. It's got Willwood calipers on it, 4 pistons, and then the trailing arms are 48-inch long cambered trailing arms, just all MIG welded. Everything's been great so far, no issues with any of that. I think it can pull about 28 inches. I have it strapped to like 24. It's pretty good balance with the front end being more limited travel. Technically I can run more, but it works fine. The shocks are same as the front end. It's a 2.5 coilover with a 3-inch bypass. These are a 5-tube. They're actually originally set up as like a short course shock, but I just made them work for this. You just got to change some internals. The deal was too good to pass up. So, and what's funny is these are actually blue. Fox used to be blue back before they switched everything to the black anodizing. It shows you how old this build is and how old this truck is and how long it's been built for. But if you come in here, you can see everything's packaged pretty nicely. I got the sway bar here. This is a custom, I believe, 1.25 inch thick bar that goes through the cage, and I made all my own custom pivots. The Odyssey batteries, I got them vertical, packaged nicely to conserve space. Fuel cell right here, you can see is a fuel safe brand, and it is 42 gallons, I believe. I can get around 200 miles max in this. Right here behind it, you can see this is a transmission cooler with a fan. You need a big transmission cooler. A lot of guys even run 2 of them. The transmissions, when you run an automatic off-road, they build a lot of heat. A lot of guys run a high stall, so you need a lot of transmission cooler. All right, so this truck originally started as a 22R with a carburetor on it. Ran really bad. We could just never get to run right. And then I found a junkyard engine. It was a 22RE, so it was fuel injected. We just slapped it in there, and that was significantly better. It wouldn't cut out, sputter. We just ran that for a couple years. And then at the time, LS stuff was still not as common, I guess you would say, as it is now, because that was around 2009, 10-ish. So we decided, all right, instead of doing the whole LS thing, and it was a lot of money at the time, I went ahead and turboed it. So really it was just like a stock 22RE that I put head studs in and had 14 pounds of boost, and it ran a Mega Squirt standalone computer. Ran that for 7 years. I think I went through like 2 or 3 head gaskets. I even did a head gasket in Glamis in the sand. I had the cylinder head up against the tire, went into town, got a new head gasket. It was the beginning of actually Thanksgiving weekend. We had about 4 days ahead of us, and the truck popped the head gasket. No fault of my own. I found out later the brand I was using was faulty. So I ran the 22R turbo for, like I said, I think 6-7 years. Definitely went through a lot of transmissions. I was just running the stock Toyota 5-speeds, the two-wheel drive ones. I think I went through 5 or 6 of those. They were easy. I just swapped a fresh one in from the junkyard every season. Now, fast forward 2016, 17, I finally decided, all right, my buddy hooked me up with an LS1 block, all aluminum block, and had that freshened up. Sold the 22R and all the parts to recoup a little money. Went and got some good cylinder heads, put a mild cam in it. This thing isn't really anything crazy, but for the weight of the truck and how small it is, a mildly built LS1, which is a 5.7, it's the original LS, all aluminum block. For what it is, this truck is plenty. It made about 300 of the wheels on a dyno. Behind it is a Turbo 400. It's a 3-speed GM automatic. I have a 3500 stall converter from Cohen. Got a manual valve body, so I can select whatever gear I want. It'll stay in that gear indefinitely. It'll also go into that gear at any speed. There's no fail-safes to it. It's like driving a manual without a clutch, basically. It's been a really good setup. This is the second transmission. The first one I put in was just a stock transmission and stock converter. I had the converter let loose and start coming apart. I had this rebuilt. It has a lot of upgraded parts in it, like 300M billet parts, and I did a higher quality converter this time. So I've had that in for a few years now. But overall, the powertrain now has been super reliable. It's a perfect amount of power. I don't break a lot of stuff, and it's plenty to get me out of situations and, you know, pull this truck wherever I need to. Engine itself is fuel injected. It's running a Holley HP standalone computer with the touchscreen. Mostly tuned it myself. I just kind of picked it up, started learning, tweaking. You know, I'm very hands-on. I've pretty much built every aspect of this truck. I just really like learning. I also know that, you know, if I screw up or whatever, it's my fault, and, you know, I can learn from it. There's been a lot of learning with this truck for sure. So a couple unique things about this LS swap I thought I'd talk about before I show you guys the inside. I'm actually running just like a manifold. These are Holley like block hugger manifolds. I was able to run the exhaust inside the frame rail and package that. It's very tight, but it fits. So a couple other cool things about this LS swap is I kept a few Toyota parts and added some Toyota parts, kind of mixed it in to make this all work, because I didn't want to run a rear radiator. You got to run coolant lines and you get air pockets, and I was really adamant about just keeping the radiator up front in the airflow. So one of the things I did was I actually incorporated a Lexus 1UZ fan clutch, a mechanical fan clutch, on the front of an LS water pump. I made an adapter, and this thing is rock solid. It'll sit at 180 degrees unless it's over 100 out. It'll run like 190 degrees. So that was a lifesaver, because it's not a very big radiator, but I have a lot of fan pulling through it, and so I don't have any overheating issues. The other cool thing was I incorporated the original 22RE throttle cable that bolts to the firewall, and it fit perfect on the stock LS1 throttle body. It fit right in the groove. I just made a custom bracket on the intake. Kept a couple little Toyota parts just for like a homage to the original 22R in this thing, but for the most part, it's just all Chevy now. It fits really good in here, and like I said, it makes good power. All right, so enough of the outside. Let's check out the inside. All right, so coming into the interior, obviously it's a little tight in here. It's a single cab, but I've tried to maximize the amount of space within the cab for leg room and stuff. So this is a McNeil dash, which I've chopped up pretty high again for leg room. On the dash, I'll just kind of go left to right. This is the Holley digital touchscreen. This is where all my gauges are. I get all my information for my engine through that screen. I have just a regular quick disconnect right here for the wiring to the wheel. One of these is for horn, and the other one is your push to talk, so you can talk out on the radio. Over here I have a 75-watt radio for talking to other people. Below it is a PCI intercom. That's how you communicate between the two of us. Very similar to how an airplane intercom works. They're basically the same thing. Next to it, I added power windows. They're a factory option in the 80s, and I was able to get the parts to convert these. So now it has power windows, you can see right here. Pretty cool. And then I'm also running a 7-inch HDS 7-inch GPS for navigation. You can load maps and race courses on that for navigating the truck. Down here is my custom center console that I built, that I fit up to the dash. Since I said, you know, I trimmed this dash up, so I made this kind of flow into the dash. This is the winter shifter. Like I was saying before, it's got a turbo 400 transmission. It's full manual, so you have first, second, and third, you know, reverse and park. But whatever gear I select, it'll stay in there indefinitely. It won't ever shift. You could do, you know, 75 miles an hour and put in first, it'll do it. It's not good for it, but that's what a manual valve body does. Down here, I have 2 Switch Pros panels. I originally had one, and then when I rewired the truck, I added a second one, and I have some extra circuits even. So you can see down here, I have my wiring in the middle. Pretty basic. Everything for the whole truck is basically right there. For seats, I'm running the Sparco Evo 2s, which are just the older version of, I believe now they're called the Sparco Evo Ls, the large. These are like kind of a medium large seat. They fit me really nice. They contain me really well. I used to run a suspension seat, but I prefer the hard bottom seats personally after having both. And these contain you a lot better in my opinion. Just running the Crow 5-point harnesses. The 5th point helps you from sliding out of the bottom. The reason why you run a 5-point is so you stay contained in the seat and you don't move around, because the last thing you need when you're bouncing around is to be sliding around in your seat. It gives you more vehicle control, and It just makes the driving experience a lot better in my opinion. The roll cage originally in this truck had a crushed cab and it had just a B-pillar cage right here. We drove it like that for a little bit, and then we decided we wanted to go racing with this truck, so that's when I had a buddy of mine build a full cage inside here. 1 3/4 120 wall DOM. Everything got cut out, had a new cab put on. This is actually technically the second cab that's been on this since the cage was built, because I rolled it a few years back, which wasn't that big of a deal. You just cut it apart and reskin it. It worked out because I did a lot of things. It kind of pushed me to do more things and make it nicer, so it's kind of that push I needed to make it better. This cage is original from when it got done in 08, I believe it was, and it held up to one rollover. We checked it, inspected it, and there's no cracks, no bends, so that was good. The only thing I've really changed was these door bars used to go flat across when we were racing, just for maximum protection. Now that it's more of just like a weekend pre-runner, we still kept a door bar for protection or side impact. I made it a little bit easier to get in and out of, so these 2 bars got changed. I cut it out and changed that. So other than that, it's been pretty original in here cage structure wise. So this concludes the build video of my 1986 Toyota. Hope you guys enjoyed watching it. If you want to see more of this kind of content, I'll be dropping, you know, fabrication tips, welding tips, and machining, all that kind of genre of stuff. More on the Toyota, more pre-runner content. If you want to see more of that, hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you guys have any more detailed questions about the build, something that I may have missed you want more of, just feel free to drop a comment in the video and I'll be glad to answer any questions you guys have. You can also follow me for more of the day-to-day stuff that I do and the fabrication on Instagram. Thanks for watching, and just remember, everything is custom.